Bandwidth for this podcast is brought to you by Ideate Software. Be sure to check out all of their great Revit applications designed to increase your productivity.
Welcome to BIMThoughts, the podcast about BIM and thoughts. I thought I'd come up with a new BIMThoughts intro again, because that's what I do. I intro BIMThoughts differently every single time, because we don't have a script here at BIMThoughts. But we are joined by the ever popular, the way cool, Carl Storms. And we have a special co-host today, Jisell Howe. You remember Jisell Howe. She was on a few weeks ago talking about all the great stuff that she does. And we said, hey, Jisell, we need you on BIMThoughts today. Can you do it? And she said, absolutely. No problem. I'm there. So, Jisell, thanks for coming on again.
Of course. Happy to be here.
And we are talking with Benjamin Glunz, but he said I can call him Ben, so I am. So Ben, how the heck are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
If I was better, it'd be illegal. Define yourself, Ben.
Define myself.
Define yourself.
Sure. So I am the CEO of Anguleris Technologies. We're the parent company of BIMsmith and Swatchbox. I'm from Elgin, Illinois, just northwest of Chicago. I have an amazing wife named Charisse and a 2-year-old son named Walter. And that's about it.
Wow. Is Walter faster than you yet?
He's definitely getting there, for sure. He's definitely better at climbing.
Yes. So BIMsmith, I have a water bottle here that I got in Seattle that has BIMsmith written on the side of it.
Nice. You and Aaron Maller, right?
Yeah, probably.
Aaron writes to us regularly to say he needs another one.
Oh, he needs
his favorite water bottle.
It's a very nice water bottle. I'll give you that. So tell us about BIMsmith. What is it? You know, I go to the conferences. I know who you are. I go and see you, but to be honest, I really don't know too much about BIMsmith. Shame on me, right? Oh, I even have some Post-it notes here with BIMsmith on it. with which filter I need for my pool.
Perfect.
Written down. So
perfect. So you can go to the store and buy your filters and you can buy your BIMs.
I can buy the filters. I can buy my BIMs. I can get some water to put in my water bottle. And awesome. And I have a sticker on my laptop, I think. Let me look. Do I have a sticker on my... Yes, I do.
And I'm looking at a Carl Storm sticker as well. So
yes, I have all sorts of stickers on my... I even have a Han Shot First sticker on my laptop.
So wait, how do I get stickers? I don't have any. I'm kind of jealous right now.
Oh,
so
we'll hook you up.
Okay, thank you.
So
tell us about BIMsmith.
Sure. BIMsmith is a product that came out of my experience while practicing architecture. A lot of people don't know I worked at a firm prior to starting the company in 2010. So my partner Freddie and I started the company on the premise that manufacturers needed to do better with getting their product data into a form that's consumable by architects. And obviously Revit was the answer for that for us. So we started out just kind of making Revit content for a lot of manufacturers, and one thing led to another, and that evolved into what we now know as BIMsmith. And really BIMsmith is an online research portal first for architects, contractors, engineers, owners to be able to do digital product research in an intelligent way, kind of a next-gen way. And then obviously Revit and other BIM tools are the underpinnings of that. So there are other sites out there that are just kind of like content libraries, right? You have all these Revit families up there, and it's, it may be a nice collection, it may be a total dumpster fire, but there are those libraries out there. But the way that we've tried to really differentiate BIMsmith is as a research first approach to BIM content that's really generated around actually specifying materials and products and being able to bring that in to your project. But we didn't stop there. We really wanted to make sure that everything that we built was to the highest standards. So we are very dedicated to making sure that all the content we put up on there is the way we would have wanted to use it when we were in practice. So, not just throwing models out there for model's sake, but trying to create design tools for practitioners to actually be able to meaningfully incorporate products into their projects.
Wow. Jisell, this is right up your alley, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I do work for a manufacturer, Ben. So we do have the need for having, that strategy, just like what you're saying there. You're helping manufacturers out. So we have that right now. And it's very important, obviously, because manufacturers, like, stuff changes often. It's a lot of data to maintain. And really, if you don't have that right, it just hurts people, really. So totally get it here. Really appreciate the work that you have going on here.
Oh, great.
Ben, so what's like one of the most popular things from the BIMsmith marketplace that you wouldn't think would be a popular model or content? Knowing that you probably don't know everything that's on there, but there's got to be something that sort of stands out.
Well, I mean, furniture is obviously like the obvious answer in terms of that gets tons of traffic, and designer lighting obviously gets a lot of traffic. Beyond that, as far as weird stuff, we've started a series we just called BIMsmith Generics, and so we've started putting up items that you wouldn't think people want. I mean, I guess it makes sense that they would want it, but it's not top of your list. And we only make them if we don't really see us getting a manufacturer anytime soon. So one that just cracks my team up so much, we noticed there was an obsession over the term grass. So people were just like looking for like a decent grass to put into their sites and their projects and stuff like that. And so that we just kind of made this slab of ground and made a decent texture and put it up, and it gets downloaded all the time. So that's kind of funny. The Blender gets downloaded all the time. We designed a bed that looks kind of contemporary and modern. We called it the modern bed, and that gets a ton of traffic as well. So, it's kind of funny, but you kind of see these things and people appreciate them, I guess.
Well, and so I went to the market and I put in BIMsmith Generics, and it brought up a list of all those things. And a couple of them that stand out. There's a beanbag chair, which is awesome. The BIMsmith mug, also awesome. I'm going to download that, and it's going to be my little hideaway into the thing.
Yeah.
And the other random thing that came up that wasn't a BIMsmith generic but just came up on the search was a insert from DuPont, but it's called a trash hole.
Yeah.
And it's like if you go to like 7-Eleven or whatever, it's a little round metal thing you throw trash in. But that made me LOL out loud, the trash hole. So
yeah, that was a fun little thing we did when we signed Corian. So DuPont makes Corian countertops, and we basically said, like, what do you need to build out a kitchenette or a countertop in a commercial setting? And like, by dang it, we need a trash hole because nobody's got that. And then you have to try and cut it with a void, and till you do all that, you might as well have a trash hole family, right?
Well, exactly. And the fact that just looking at it, I knew exactly what it was. So clearly, there's a need, but another place like, oh yeah, we've all seen those, get your morning Starbucks. There's one right there beside your coffee and cream. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to ask, you mentioned earlier of the suite of companies that you work for, the last Built event that we went at least I think maybe it was one before, it's all blurry now, as sometimes Built events tend to get. But you mentioned Swatchbox, and I'm quite interested about how that's progressed since then.
Yeah, it's really taking off, and if anything, the whole pandemic and shutdown has added fuel to the growth of Swatchbox. And so, for those who don't know, Swatchbox is an online tool for manufacturers to handle the fulfillment of physical samples. And so we've essentially married digital software and technology with physical logistics. And so we actually handle everything from the software that goes into the manufacturer's website to the delivery, pick, packing, and shipping of physical samples. And so what's really exciting about it is we've been able to integrate it with BIM. So, with BIMsmith and Swatchbox talking to each other, you can essentially scan your model and be able to order digital paint chips of PPG paint based on what's in your model. And so that's something we're really excited about. And to your question, how's that gone since Built? It's been amazing to see the growth and the number of manufacturers that have gotten on board with it. And our shipping volume goes up every day because obviously people are stuck at home without access to their firm libraries. So that has really picked up since then as well.
Can you imagine being an interior designer trying to work from home and not have access to your library?
Yeah, exactly. And so, folks like PPG are just shipping fan deck after fan deck, stacks of chips, you can't even imagine. So
And can you imagine being the poor spouse of an interior designer now with all of
all those all over the kitchen table, right?
Everywhere.
Yeah, right.
Wow. So Swatchbox, can't even say it. Swatchbox. It lives inside Revit, and you order it from there. Or you go to the website. How does that work?
Yeah, so it embeds into manufacturers' websites. So we have effectively become their software provider. So anywhere on their website you order a sample, you can do it there. But then in BIMsmith, you can also order from there through our integration with Swatchbox. So if you look at any of the PPG or AZEK or Trex products, you'll see on the left side, right next to the Revit download, is order a sample. And so we think it's really interesting to take something physical and effectively make it digitized from an ordering standpoint, so that you can automate that into other workflows.
Nice.
So one of our claims to fame is it's the world's first sample API, and that we've actually made an API out of ordering samples. So that's kind of fun.
Nice.
It's kind of fun. And then I'm looking at the parents and all that on the internets there on your site, and you have Sample Smarter. What is that?
Yeah, so that's just our tagline for Swatchbox.
Okay. And then the Forge, is there anything going on with BIMsmith Forge that we should know about?
Yeah, so you're going to see a brand new release of BIMsmith Forge this fall. It's done very well. A lot of folks have commented on, is this Autodesk Forge? It's like, no, we actually named it that before Autodesk came out with theirs, so that's kind of a funny story. But it has nothing to do with that. So BIMsmith Forge has been around since probably 2016. We launched it at Built, that tool set, and it's also super exciting to see the way firms have integrated that into their workflow to build walls, floors, ceilings, and roofs on the fly using, I think we're up to 600,000 unique Revit materials that are in the database that you can choose to build your assemblies from. So you build that out in a web interface, and then it spits out that wall. And if you use our plugin, you can actually pull that right into your project. So it's pretty slick, and it's due for an update. So we're going to be launching that later this year with just a completely refreshed interface and a whole bunch of new features.
You guys doing anything with spec writing stuff?
Yeah, so we actually have partnered with AIA MasterSpec. Last year we created that partnership, and so we've been working with them on a lot of BIM to spec and spec to BIM integrations. And so the exciting thing about that is, since it's an exclusive partnership, we're able to do a lot more for one another to make sure that it flows correctly. And there's a lot of things that you can do when you're co-developing roadmaps. So one of the exciting things that just went live, I think last week, is all of the manufacturers on BIMsmith that are MasterSpec customers are now eSpecs compatible. And if you haven't used eSpecs, it's a really cool tool that MasterSpec actually bought. Plugs into Revit, it scans your model, and it pulls using codes to determine which sections need to be pulled for the specification manual. So that's pretty neat. And with eSpecs, you kind of have to go in and put in all the codes manually first. But if you use BIMsmith, the codes are all pre-propagated based on their master format section.
Oh,
So
okay.
you
Yeah.
don't have to spend the time entering those codes. You can just use BIMsmith content and know that eSpecs will pick it up. So, lots of, little progress increments that we're able to make, and some really big ones coming up in the future. So stay tuned for that too.
Absolutely. Jisell, I'm sure you've got a question.
Yeah, I'm really curious with this whole Swatchbox. So, oh my goodness, I can't even say it right. Wow,
The X is hard. The X is hard.
Oh my goodness, Swatchbox. So that was with like paint selections. Is that right? Is there other stuff that can go in there too, or is it?
Yeah. So we have like Armstrong Ceiling, we have AZEC, all kinds of building products.
Wow.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. I just keep thinking I'm at like Menards picking out paint, and now I'm trying to picture that like digitally. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Sure.
So when
the great part is, with Swatchbox, you can be in the model and just go right from there. So that's kind of the fun part about it.
Well, it should be the big fun part about
it.
I'd rather go to my model than go to a Home Depot these days, I think.
Yes.
True story.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Carl.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of staying in the model with these days, how are you doing without conferences, Ben? I know we see each other so often throughout the year at the different conferences, different spots. It's been far too long, and it may be a little bit longer. So how are you guys getting in touch with all of your customers and users without the conference floor?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a tough thing to handle. And in March and April, we got the news that 5 or 6 conferences that we attend within a couple days had been canceled. And so one of the ways we kind of hopped to it right away was we created a new program called BIMsmith Coffee Club. And I don't know if you guys have been on that at all, but it's a weekly program that we hold for continuing ed credit, AIA credit. And we invite a different manufacturer each week to come on and give their presentation. And what we found is that's been a great way to stay in touch with our users. And we have that weekly program. I get on and host it, much like what you guys are doing here. And it's very, kind of fun and lighthearted. And, we give away a mug every week, as you said there. So that digital model that you see in the generics is an actual coffee club mug. So I'll send you guys your own physical mugs.
Wow.
But that's been a lot of fun, to have that. And we have a really nice open Q&A every week. And that's been a great way to stay in touch with the users. And then our customers and manufacturers, we've just really reverted from conferences to doing a lot of video calls and even some virtual happy hours. So it's been pretty good from that perspective, keeping in touch, and it helps that everybody's in the same boat. It's not like we're the only ones doing that. So we've done pretty well. We've seen growth. A lot of manufacturers have taken trade show money that they would have otherwise spent on a big trade show and put it into our platform. So we've actually done pretty well from that perspective. Our team is growing and very healthy, so we're very grateful for that.
Well, that's good. Sorry, go ahead, Jisell.
Oh, I just said it was good to hear. That's great.
It is, and I think one of the things that people are struggling with is the fact that the first couple months after we got stuck, sheltered in place, as the case may be, webinars, online content became sort of the new norm. But now there's so much of it out there, and it's happening so much that sometimes the same thing over and over again gets a little bit much. So the idea of a coffee club and the fact that it's not something you have to go to, there's something you want, you go in there and you can touch base with all your providers, but it's not a constant thing. You get that different topics, different stuff. And of course, in our industry, I think we're all aware that those credits are definitely a nice addition to the reason to come for the coffee club. You come for the content, you stay for the mug, and you leave with a couple credits. It's all good. It's all good stuff.
So what trends are you seeing in the industry that we should all pay attention to?
So which part of the industry? On the tech side or in practice, or what do you think?
I think the trend that you are most excited about.
Well, one super basic thing that I have found to be really cool is just the normalization of video calls. I felt like I was on Zoom calls all the time and we never turned the camera on. And I don't know
Right.
why, but it just wasn't normal. And you were the weirdo who turned your camera on and accidentally, whatever. Um, and now it's just like you get on a call and everybody flips their cameras on and that's just normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that it's just so much more pleasant and you can have much better interactions with people.
Mm-hmm.
And a number of our team members are remote, whether it be here in the US, like in other states, or in Europe. And I found that just the level of engagement across our team has gone up, which is so
Wow.
interesting because we have a beautiful office in Elgin and that's great and we're all together, but only about half of our team is there.
Mm-hmm.
So when everybody had to go home at the end of March and we all went virtual, we all had to sharpen our communication skills. And I just thought that was a really interesting thing to watch. And as we start to come back to the office now, we're going to keep some of those things that we started doing for the last 6 months,
Yeah.
just to keep the team in this tight knit fashion that was a result of mostly video calls, being able to do that. And it's not that the technology wasn't there. It was just, it wasn't socially normal. And so
Mm-hmm.
now it is. So I love that with our customers, with our vendors, our partners, our team members, that we can all have that. So that's super cool. Um, a trend in the industry, I think everybody's just kind of looking at technology more intentionally, I think. A lot of these concepts that were like, put everything in the cloud, it didn't
Mm-hmm.
really mean as much until we literally all had to work from the cloud. Um,
Right.
so that's been kind of fun to watch. I think it's interesting when everybody rags on the construction industry and says, well, we're second to last in terms of innovation and disruption, only
Mm-hmm.
second to the mining and coal industry. Like I feel like I hear that stat at every conference, and I kind of get tired of
Mm-hmm.
it because we have come such a long way as an industry over the last 10 years. And so much has changed and so much innovation has happened. And I feel like a lot of it just gets absorbed and nobody is able to fully quantify it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the whole shutdown brings that to the forefront, how far we've come in as an industry, because I try to picture an architecture practice functioning 10 years ago under this current set of circumstances, and I can't do the math. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
now with all the tools we
Mm-hmm.
have, whether this is content management tools or, BIM 360 or collaboration for Revit or whatever you use to use Revit in the cloud, or um, our iPhones even really are much more advanced, Slack and Zoom and all of these tools that we have to communicate with each other and host and share things in the cloud. A lot of that just was in its infancy 10 years ago. So when I look
Yeah.
at the way we've been able to function now versus the way we would have been able to function under the same set of circumstances 10 years ago, I'm like, holy smokes, we have made a lot of progress. So
Right.
that's been pretty exciting to me, having been a part of that and on the front lines of that. And we all talk about it at conferences like Built and stuff. But to see it in action and really be put to the test, how does this actually work
Yeah.
when we can't be physically together or next to our server closet? That's been pretty cool to watch from my perspective.
Yeah. I think the technology thing that really helped with that is the bandwidth affordability.
Yeah,
10 years ago,
that's a great point.
10 years ago, I would like right now today I have gigabit in my house
Mm,
internet, and I average about 850 to 900 megabits per second whenever I test my speed. So I'm quite spoiled, and I like being spoiled. But 10 years ago, there'd be no way in heck I could have even afford 250 meg or 100 megabit.
yeah,
So these technologies that we have today are, looking back at it as you talk, I think bandwidth is what is
yeah,
really made this all happen.
Just saying, I see the same things, really. I think the
Uh-huh.
whole pandemic, we were kind of like forced to use a lot of stuff that was really, I mean, it got developed and finally we're using it. So, I mean, we use MS Teams. We're doing a lot
Right.
of like the named users for Autodesk products, not really on the network much anymore. And I mean, there's challenges here and there, but we really made a lot of stuff work. I mean, the video calls we got used to over time. We definitely were new to it. Now it kind of gives me a little bit of an incentive to clean my house behind me. So that's kind of nice. But no, I was just mainly just agreeing. Like, I think this is like a thing that people are seeing. I've listened to a lot of webinars, a lot of podcasts, and people are saying the same kind of things. Like, we actually are doing pretty good. I mean, there's challenges, sure, but I mean, we're doing really well for having to adjust like this. So that's really all I was saying. So
Well, I think it does come from the having to learn on the fly, if you will. Everybody says, we've got this technology, we've got this plan, we're going to do it on a pilot project, or we're going to do it when we slow down, and
Right.
nobody ever slows down or does it. And so now it's like, we don't have a choice. You know, how many IT managers and had to go into the office on the weekend and set things up, and Monday, Tuesday, people were working from home that had never worked from home before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, and then we're all saying, hey, maybe working from home's not that bad. You
Right.
know?
Yeah, it was a big. It was a big. Well, it was a lot of work back in March when we had to move to all virtual, to a virtual practice. Luckily, we had a lot of it in place. Luckily, we were able to bump our bandwidth with just a phone call, which was a lifesaver to get our VPN speed up.
Yeah.
And one of our IT director had the foresight of jumping online and driving around Southern California to buy all the laptops he could buy
Sure.
at that time, just so that our designers could work if they didn't have a laptop at home. So yeah, it's and we're also finding that people are working different hours now, where they're working the hours they need to for meetings, but they may be working later in the evening or earlier in the day, depending on what their home teaching schedule is for their children.
Right.
So yeah, things are changing, and it's going to be interesting when things get back to normal. What the new normal is going to look like? Is the new normal going to be we're going to go back to the way we were, in that everybody comes into the office, or is it going to be a come into the office when you're needed kind of an environment? And then what does that do to offices in the architecture realm is on the back of my mind too. If we're starting to work from home more and more, what does that do for our commercial side of our business, making offices?
Yeah, I heard an interesting anecdote from a manufacturer customer of ours that their research is showing that any loss of need for commercial office space will likely be offset by a decompression of the current workforce in their current office space to accommodate for social distancing and spacing.
Oh, I
So
see.
whereas before you could put 20 people on a bench and
Uh-huh.
have these like jam-packed bullpens,
Mm-hmm.
that's not going to cut it anymore. And so you kind of have to decompress that a little bit. And some people will probably stay home, but it likely won't cause as much of a collapse of the commercial real estate market as maybe some previously thought.
Yeah,
So I thought that was an
that makes
interesting
sense.
thought. I haven't done the research to see how true
I
that
haven't
is,
either.
but it was an interesting anecdote to hear from a customer at a major
Mm-hmm.
BPM who has, the money to do research. So
Oh, well, that's good. It wasn't just a Facebook post.
right, exactly. I saw it on Twitter.
Saw it on the Twitters.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's yeah. So those are all of the things that I'm thinking about as we move to this virtual practice, is what our company is calling it.
Sure.
So yeah, and so I wonder if hot desking is going to be the new norm too. If you don't actually get a desk, you just sort of
Right.
reserve a spot and go to that desk or what have you.
I can see that if people come back to maybe not working full time in the office, but
Mm-hmm.
coming in for meetings and people kind of circling around again, making the social distancing or physical distancing the option,
Right.
giving people there. The downside, the one thing that I would miss with that, and Bill, your your multi-stickered laptop will speak to this too, is that you're
Uh-huh.
not going to be able to have all those lovely tchotchkes that you have in your desk, all of the squishy toys and all of the swag that I bring back
Right.
from the conferences. I'll have to stick it all in my backpack and bring it with me.
Uh-huh. Your wall of badges.
Yes, maybe that's the next thing. We'll have to have
That's
digital
funny.
tchotchkes, so we just have a display.
Or we'll just give you a 3D print file that you can 3D print your own tchotchke.
There you go.
That works too.
I threw away all my badges in 2015 throughout the years of conferences because it's like this thing. I'm not doing anything with this. This needs to go. This needs to get out of my life.
Yeah.
And now it's back, and there it is. All the badges are back. They're all newer badges, but they're back. So
Nice.
it's funny.
I use mine for scrapbooking. I've got tons of them.
Yeah, I have tons of them too. One of my favorite buttons that I found was work smarter plus harder. That was one of my favorite buttons I found.
Smarter
Nice.
and harder.
Smarter plus harder. Yep.
Or as Autodesk says, more, better, less.
More, better, less.
Which we have jokingly translated in this office to more or less better.
More or less better. Better, more or less. Oh, that's funny.
When I was a young pup, many years ago, I worked for a landscaping business as a summer job, and their slogan was "We care as much as you do," which I thought was a great double meaning. So we care about your lawn, or if you don't care, well, we don't care so much either.
We
That's
care
funny.
as much as you do. So why hire us? That's funny.
I grew up working for a landscaper too. My dad was a landscaper, so I had many a summer doing that.
Many a summers caring as much as they do.
Yep.
That's funny. All right. I'm going to give Jisell the final thought, the final question, because we're at an Aubin, which is 30 minutes to you and me.
Final question. I want to know more about the coffee. What was it? Coffee dates?
Coffee Club.
I want to know.
Yeah.
Coffee date. Oh my goodness. I want to know where could I go to find that and sign up?
Yeah. So you just go to you can just go to BIMsmith.com/coffee club and you'll be able to find it, or just Google BIMsmith Coffee Club. That's probably easier.
Sweet. And then I can get a cup after that?
You can get a cup right now.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, that's my final thought. Do you guys have final thoughts?
I'm good. Ben, thank
Yeah.
you so much
Thanks
for
for
being
having
on
me.
BIMThoughts today.
This is a blast.
It is a blast. Jisell, thank you so much for being on BIMThoughts again.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure having you. And Carl, you're the man.
Thanks, Bill. Second only to you.